right, this next gentleman that we're going to discuss is Ernesto Antonio Tito Puente. Born in Spanish Harlem, in the Harlem Central Hospital in 1923. Of course, his parents were native Puerto Ricans, Ernesto and Felicia Puente. As a very young kid, little Tito showed a keen interest in making noise, beating up on stuff, pots and pans, window sills, you name it. And of course, the neighbors complain about all the noise this kid is making. So Mom, in an attempt to fix things, started giving her son piano lessons that cost the family 25 cents a lesson. This quieted young Tito down. These lessons started at about 7 years of age. But at 10, he returned to his primary interest, which was percussion. The one thing I can tell you about Cubans, Puerto Ricans, Dominicans is they love their rhythm. And I remember going to a concert with some friends of mine, and it was kind of a Latin jazz concert, and almost everyone in the room was playing the clave at their tables at the bar with spoons and knives or whatever they could, because they all had that rhythm going. It's something that they're born with. It's a part of the culture. That's just the way it is. And Tito was, let's just say, taken by this influence at a very, very early age. He continued to practice, and I'm sure in Spanish Harlem he had many of the older guys who were very happy to teach him the ins and outs of Latin percussion. He gravitated to the timbales and was called the king of the timbale. He was also called the Pope of Latin music, or also the king of Latin music. His career in music lasted 50 years, 5 decades, as a songwriter, composer, band leader, and obviously as the great musician that he was. His fame really grew nationally and internationally in the 50s with the release of his groundbreaking album, Dance Mania. And the entire country, indeed the world, was taken by this explosion of dance music with a Latin beat. He often said, "I'm playing jazz just with an Afro-Cuban flavor." And that's what we're talking about him. Because you know what? It is jazz. It just has the flavor of his ethnicity. He was featured in movies such as The Mambo King, Calle 54. He was also seen in television shows, things that appealed to kids, so that even the young became infected with this love for this very danceable music and this really great personality that was the great Tito Puente. He was on The Simpsons, as well as Sesame Street and many others. His biggest hit, written in the 60s, was Oye Como Va. Everyone knows that tune, Oye Como Va. Now, because he was so good at mambo and samba and those timbales, many people thought that he had to be Cuban. Well, no, he wasn't Cuban, he's Puerto Rican. He just liked the music of Cuba. And in Spanish Harlem, of course, it's Spanish Harlem, not Puerto Rican Harlem. So you had all sorts of musical influences from the Spanish-speaking countries of the Caribbean, including Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico, Cuba, and on and on and on. So he absorbed all of those influences. One of my favorite albums, believe it or not, is a live album where he is performing with the great Celia Cruz, the Cuban singer, and many others. And the love between them, the joy in making that music, just absolutely infectious. So that's one of my favorites, and I recommend it to everybody. The band is just killing, and of course the two of them have such a great chemistry, and just to hear Celia Cruz and to hear Tito compliment her so well with his drumming and the arrangements, it's just phenomenal. So I recommend that one quite high to you. This music was a family affair for Tito and his sons. The older son, timbale player with many of the Latin pop groups, and his younger son, who is actually named Tito Jr., continues to run the legacy band for Tito Puente, and to perform the same repertoire that his father performed. I actually saw Tito Puente Jr. In Clearwater at a Latin music festival on Clearwater Beach several years ago, when I was playing trombone with Gumpi Ortiz Latino Project. And a few years later, I saw Tito Jr. in Washington, D.C. at a concert over the 4th of July holiday. And as I approached him, he called me, "Trombone, trombone, trombone." He remembered me from that concert after all those years. And it was just so warm and so attentive to everybody. Just such a great spirit that ran through that entire family, probably from the parents right down to Tito himself and his children. It is also noteworthy that Tito Puente had 3 appearances at Clearwater Jazz Holiday. I believe it's 1986, 1996, and 1999. So he has also been a favorite here locally at our own Clearwater Jazz Holiday, which says a whole lot about the infectious nature of his personality and his music and how much people like to dance. He had a heart attack, of course, while on the road performing, and was rushed to the hospital to repair a heart valve. Complications ensued, and he died as a result of that massive heart attack. And we lost a really, really great giant. But we did not lose his music. Oye Como Va will be with us forever. And the recordings that he made will cause generations to dance for decades to come. He was honored, surprisingly, not so much by the Grammys, but by everybody else. Lifetime Achievement Award by the International Latin Jazz Association. He's a star on the Walk in Hollywood. He has a star in Union, New Jersey, in the Celia Cruz Park. The post office in his neighborhood was renamed after him, Tito Puente, United States Post Office. The area he grew up, around 110th Street in New York, has been renamed Tito Puente Way. Received many honorary degrees from Columbia and from the Berklee School of Music as well. And then congressional awards spearheaded by Congressman, the late Congressman Rangel, when he was in the Senate in the United States Senate. So there are so many awards he has received. Puerto Rico, actually, the Senate in Puerto Rico invited him to do a live performance on the floor of the Senate. They just shut it down and let Tito have his way. And I'm sure that was a very bipartisan moment in that Senate, because everyone loves Tito and his music and everybody loves to dance. So let's remember that music is a healing force. In these days of divisiveness, we need more music. We need more Tito Puentes in the world that will cause us to smile, to hug, to embrace, to smile, and to dance. And his music lives on, not just in recordings and film, but also in the legacy band that is led by his son, Tito Puente Jr. 5 decades of pushing for the popularity and acceptance of Latin music, particularly the mambo, the samba, son, cha-cha. Let's say, yeah, Tito, play those timbales because you are the king. And just like Celia Cruz was the queen of salsa, Tito Puente is not just the king of the timbales, he is also the king of Latin music, particularly the mambo. So here is to you, Tito, for teaching us all how to dance and have a good time, whether it is the 2-3 clave or the 3-2 baby, we gonna be on the one. Thank you very much.